Hey, and welcome everyone to Season 5 of the Ruin Hammer live show where we talk all things One New Zealand Warriors. Thank you all for joining us. Tonight, we're going to discuss the round 25 Warriors lost to the Bulldogs, Shaun Johnson's last home game at Mount Smart Stadium, or Shaun Johnson Stadium as they renamed it. We're also going to look at last week's round 26 victory over the Sharks. We're going to discuss Shaun Johnson and his farewell performance, and we'll wrap up a little bit of NRL news. Joining me tonight, as usual, is my good mate and co-host Warrior Roo. Rob, how are you, mate? We haven't been on last week. Tell us where you were and what happened.
Yeah, right. So, I'm doing well, thanks, mate, and good to be here. Good to be talking all things Warriors again. And it's good to be here with a bit of positivity to end the season. We will get to that. But yeah, no, last week was a massive week for me. I was on the Gold Coast midweek for the Sports Aerobics Nationals. My daughter Dominique, she qualified for Sports Aerobic Nationals in individual, in duo, team, and school team. And I've got something that I need to show you here. This is a gold medal won by Dominique for her school. Her school team picked up gold on last Saturday. So we were super proud of her. Yep, she had a lolly here all the way from the Philippines. Lolly being her grandma from the Philippines was here, and also her sister. Cleo's sister and her auntie and uncle and cousin from NZ were over here as well, so they were all super proud of her. Got to watch her compete there. It's a big thing, eh? It's like I felt like the show Dance Mums. I felt like I was like a dance dad. It's high pressure environment. All the kids there in their costumes and everything, but everyone did really well. All the competitors from her team and also from her school. All did really well, and they were picked up quite a few medals. So super proud of her for picking up gold there. Fantastic. Also, I just want to give a special shout out to someone very special in your life. Belated happy birthday to Danny from last week.
Yes, mate, it was. Danny's birthday last weekend. Had a great weekend, mate. Went out for dinner. Had a little bit of a celebration. And then, Father's Day. Happy Father's Day to everyone.
Yep.
Also
right back at you.
last weekend. Yep. Just a bit of Father's Day. So it was a big weekend last weekend for us.
Huge weekend, yes.
Actually, I've got a couple of big weekends coming up. I've got my mum's 80th birthday this weekend.
Happy birthday.
Following weekend, I'm up in Queensland. I'll be visiting my son, my daughter, my granddaughter, and, of course, catching up with you, mate. And then the weekend after that, I've got my birthday. And then the weekend after that, I'm doing something that all Kiwis do, and that is I'm going to watch 660 in concert at the barracks. The barracks here in Manly. They've got a performance on there. So Danny's bought me tickets for that. Okay. So there's Danny. Danny's in the chat. She doesn't get in the chat much, but she's in the chat there thanking Rob.
You're welcome. I hope it was a great day, Danny. Yep. Yeah. I'm sure you got looked after. Yeah.
Happy birthday, babe. And, mate, going back to what you're talking about with Dommy, congratulations, Dommy. That's absolutely wonderful. And I know what you mean about the whole Dance Mums community. That kind of takes me back to 2012, 2013. My boys, who are now adults, but when they were teenagers, used to be part of the breakdancing crew in Sydney. They actually competed at the World Championships in Vegas 2 years in a row. So they were a lot better than Ray Gun, mate.
I was just going to say, were they doing the Velociraptor and the?
No, they didn't do the Velociraptor and the kangaroo and all that other shit. If anyone wants to get on and have a look at them, they're actually on YouTube. You look up Royal Knights on YouTube, Royal Knights HHI, Hip Hop International, and you'll see their stuff from yesteryear. It's they hate me talking about it, but yeah, something I was very, very proud of when they did it. So it's
proud dad moments.
Proud dad moments. Yeah, proud dad moments. Exactly. Mate. So let's get into a bit of footy chat. Before we do, invite you all, if you haven't already done so, to please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, our Facebook page, and give us a follow on our Instagram. The direct links can be found in our link tree. I'd also like to acknowledge and thank our wonderful supporters and subscribers on all our social media platforms, but in particular our generous Patreon subscribers whose donations and support enables us to continue to bring everyone the content and the guests we all enjoy so much. And just a reminder, the reason we do this show live is so that everyone who's tuned in can get involved by putting their comments in the comment section. So as we move through to discussion points, join the conversation, leave your comments, but please keep them respectful and refrain from making them personal or derogatory. Mate, let's go back 2 weeks. Round 25, I think it was. Round 25.
Yes, 25.
Mount Smart Stadium, renamed Shaun
Johnson Stadium.
The home game against the Bulldogs. We were hoping it would be a better result for Shaun to go out with at home. It wasn't to be. I will give a massive shout out to the Warriors. I thought the overall, first of all, to the fans. Massive congratulations to the fans. Once again, a sold-out crowd. The Warriors become the first team in NRL history to sell out every single home game of a season.
Amazing.
It is amazing when you consider...
It's extraordinary, really, yeah.
And let's be honest, it is when you consider just how poorly the team have performed in the terms of results this season, particularly at home. We haven't had a good season at home.
Inexplicably poor season at home, hasn't it?
But the fans kept turning up. It just makes you realise that, that Webby keeps talking about how good the fan base is, both sides of the Tasman, and we keep proving that week in, week out. But yeah, the way the Warriors honoured both AFB and Jazz as well, with them running out prior to Shaun, mate. A lot of tears when Shaun came out. That was pretty overwhelming stuff. What did you think of the whole presentation of Shaun to the crowd prior to the game?
I had something in both eyes at that particular moment in time, but it was extremely emotional. It was a really nice touch having AFB out and then Jazz come out as well, honouring those guys, and it would have been extremely emotional for them as well, particularly for Jazz, who's been at the club for so long. And then Shaun coming out with the whole family, and mate, he was hanging on by a thread before he was a blubbering mess, but you can understand that. Extremely emotional, touching moment. You'll never forget that kind of thing. And you could just see how much it means to him, how much it means to him to play for the Warriors and to play on Mount Smart Stadium or Shaun Johnson Stadium or Go Media Stadium or Ericsson Stadium, whatever you want to call it. That's his house, and you could see how much it meant to him and how much he's going to miss that. Extremely emotional, touching sort of moment. And again, it's something that you'll never forget as a Warriors fan, and you never take that sort of thing for granted. Well, like a favourite son of the club, walking out in the Coliseum for the last time.
As I said, there wasn't a dry eye in the house. He's been a wonderful servant of the game. He's been a wonderful servant of the Warriors. It's probably, and we'll get into Shaun a little bit later on, but he's probably, it's probably only been the last season where he really fulfilled his potential as the halfback that we kind of needed at the club. He was always that highlight reel player, and testimony to him last year, he came 1 point shy of winning the Dally M. Would have won the Dally M had he played the last round against the Dolphins last year. Webby chose to rest him, and Kalen Ponga got the points in that game for the Knights and beat him by a point in the Dally M medal. It's probably something that he'll look back on and think, what if? But
there's a few of those moments. Everyone's going to sort of have those. He did come so freaking close to a Dally. You can't get any closer to a Dally M. There's a few sort of things there, like I think the interesting thing about him is he played in the grand final his first ever season. In the NRL, and then he never got back there. And that's probably another one of those things that you sort of look back on and sort of think. And he came close-ish last year, and everyone thought this would be the swan song, but another one of those things that just wasn't meant to be. But look, absolutely, fantastic way to send send off the great man on home soil.
Absolutely. What did you think of the game, mate? There was a lot of controversy in that game, particularly a couple of things out of that game. And we're not one to blame refs for results. And I'm not saying by any means that the refereeing would have changed the result. The Bulldogs were the better side on that night. But there was two incidents in that game. The Roger Tuivasa-Sheck, the Stephen Crichton head knock or high tackle on Roger Tuivasa-Sheck.
Shoulder to the head. Yep.
Shoulder to the head. That's a sin bin every day of the week. And I know
used to be a send-off. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a sin bin every day of the week. Roger gets up a bit groggy. They weren't going to do anything about that until Roger got up a bit groggy. We lose Roger for that game and effectively for the Sharks game the following week. Crichton stays on the field. Like I said, I'm not saying we would have won, but, a 10-minute period there where the Bulldogs down to 10 men.
We were still up 18-16 at the time.
Absolutely. And then there was the one in the second half where Barnett's kind of got up. He's got blood.
He had to get up and go
like this to the ref. And I actually thought there was a lot of talk about the Crichton one afterwards. I actually thought that one was worse on Barnett. So, I mean, a couple of things in that game. It just goes to show that even in such an emotional game, the refs still weren't going to give us a break, were they?
No, absolutely not. And what makes it even more ridiculous is the match the night before between the Tigers and the Sea Eagles at Leichhardt had like multiple instances like that were sin binned.
Absolutely,
it's just inexplicable that they looked at it. It was just like the biggest sin by omission I think I've ever seen. Like they panicked and thought, oh no. I don't understand. There's just absolutely zero consistency. We kind of got our Monday morning apology, didn't we, from Graham Annesley?
Yeah, we did.
As always, too little, too late. Fish and chip paper. But as you said, the Bulldogs, despite the good start that we had, so I think the whole emotion of the night was always going to guarantee us early points. Like
yes,
you knew that we were going to get at least a try or two on early. But I think you and I were talking, and once the emotion kind of wore out, the Bulldogs just hung in there, and then they were the better side clearly for the rest of the game, and they did what they've been doing for most of this year and sort of strangled us out with their defence and got the tries. I mean, they're a little bit of a scrappy team still. They get their tries through kicks and that sort of thing, and but they did enough to get the win that night. So we're not trying to suggest that we would have won the game had those sin bins occurred. But it's just really frustrating when just the pure lack of consistency.
And we kind of said that in our group chat with Brad and Richie while that game was going on. We kind of said if the Bulldogs weather that storm of emotion early, they just kind of once they got past that opening 15, 20 minutes and it got into like the game and the emotion was taken out of it. They were just a better team on the day. I mean, they've had a fantastic season, the Dogs, and they deserve where they are. But for us, it was just another one of those. That's probably the story of the season, isn't it, mate? Where we've started games off well and just haven't been able to continue that for the full 80 minutes. We have lapses of brilliance and it's just not enough in the modern game.
It's been particularly at home, hasn't it? We get out to the 12, 16-0 leads, and even the games where we've won, we've done that and sort of let the opposition kind of back into the game, and every now and then got away with a win against weaker opposition. But it's been the same from round one to the final home game. It's like out to a 12-0 lead, and for whatever reason, the concentration wavers, and we just can't stay on task. And that's 2024 in a nutshell.
Absolutely, and we'll break all that down next week, mate. Next week we're gonna do a bit of a our season review of the Warriors. Unfortunately for us, it's coming a little bit early, right at the beginning of the final series. But we're going to spend next week's show just breaking down the Warriors season, talking about where we think things went wrong, what went right for us, that kind of stuff. So that'll be a big, good conversation to have next week.
It will be.
Before we move on to last week's game where we can praise the efforts of the boys. Do we want to just quickly touch on the round 25 results?
Yeah. So round 25 started Thursday night, and it was a big upset win. The West Tigers doing their best to deny Luke Brooks a place in the finals. They did everything they could there. Good performance from them, 34-26 at Leichhardt Oval. Friday, first game on Friday was our game against the Bulldogs, and Broncos returned to their rightful or entitled slot of the 8 p.m. Friday game at Suncorp Stadium, and they did just enough to beat the Eels, despite the Eels leading 16-0 in that game there. Super Saturday started with a very good win by the Raiders over Penrith. Very good performance there at GIO Stadium. Storm, way too good for the Dolphins, 48-6 in the middle game at home. And then the Knights, 36-16 over the Rabbitohs. Rabbitohs have had a very a season to forget. Knights still in with a chance to make the finals. Sunday was a bit of a points fest. The Titans against the Roosters. Roosters way too good, 48-22. And then the Sunday afternoon game, Dragons with everything to play for at Wynn Stadium. Kind of went out with a whimper, really. 38-10 loses to the Sharks, and the Cowboys had the bye. So that set up an interesting penultimate round in the NRL. Yeah.
It did. Just quickly, the NRL W results from round 5 that same weekend. Saw the Knights 36 over the Eels 16. Knights starting to get onto a winning run now to defend their title. In that game, we had the Cowboys 28 over the Raiders 18, which was a bit of a surprising one. Cowboys had struggled a little bit early in the season. The Titans got back in form. They beat the Roosters 26-6. The Broncos really starting to show their muscle now in the NRLW. They had a 44-14 win over the hapless Tigers. The Tigers look like they're going to go wooden spoon this year in the NRL and NRLW. And the Sharks, 28 over the Dragons, 4 to continue their winning ways and remain undefeated. And then, yes, let's get into last week, mate, round... Yeah,
round 26. Oh, just quickly before that, I just see Paul's joined us in the chat. He said the fan base in the UK is massive for the Warriors as well. Up the Waz is really caught on over there, so that's awesome. Looks like he's heading to Vegas as well. So that should be awesome. Yeah,
it should be.
round 26.
Round 26, mate. We final game of the season for the Warriors a week early. I can remember at the beginning of the year we were all talking about how it's going to be great that we have the bye in round.
The bye, yes. We're saying how great it was going to be to have the bye in round 26 because we had all hoped that we were going to be having a much better season than we did this year. Looks like he's back. You with us? Well, we can't hear you. Hammer's back, but there's no sound. Sorry, he just dropped out there. But yeah, we were hoping that the bye was going to be a bit of relief for us. Obviously anticipating to go a lot better this year than we had, and it would be a good opportunity to have a rest before the end of the season and not having to do what we did against the Dolphins last year, and that's rest half of our team. As Jacko's saying, a waste of a bye. It would have been crucial if we'd made the finals. Absolutely would have been. So it's a little bit of a it was a little bit of a strange one coming into our final game of the season. But with so much more footy action to go. And we traveled down to Shark Park, PointsBet Stadium there in Sydney to take on the Sharks. And it's probably fitting. Shaun Johnson. There we are, you're back. I waffled on, I think, sufficiently enough. I was just saying, we traveled down to PointsBet Stadium. Shaun Johnson fittingly playing his final NRL game against the club that he played a handful of games for from 2019 to 2021. So,
mate, I have to say I picked this a couple of weeks back before he even announced his retirement. I said to you that
you did.
I reckon he'll retire, and it'll be fitting that he gets to play his final game of his NRL career against the only other club at the only other field that it was his home ground. So I must, I'll claim that one. I picked that.
Yeah, we'll give you that, considering you cursed the boys every time you went to watch them play. And it must be said you did not go to this game, so that might have something to do.
The only reason I didn't was because it was Danny's birthday on Saturday, and she kept saying to me, "Oh, we can go and watch Shaun's last game," and I was like, "No, we're not going to go. We're not spending your birthday at the footy." Disappointingly too. Anyway, with the amount of work going on at Shark Park, it's now only like 14,000 capacity.
I couldn't believe that. I had no idea it was that small stadium.
Yeah, I was surprised and then seeing the scenes on TV. There's one whole side of the field that's kind of disappeared now because of the work to the Leagues Club. The hill was packed, and it would have been. It would have been great to be there, but also it wouldn't have been. Sharks fans are kind of annoying.
There's some of the people from the Shire, eh?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. But yeah, mate, great performance from the boys in this game. A couple of things, like the first half, Sharks got out to a commanding lead. There was that halftime speech that apparently Shaun gave the boys. And they just came out and played a different brand of footy. That final 40 minutes. Yeah, that final 40 minutes. You kind of picked something was kind of brewing, because that first try that he set up in the first half was vintage Shaun Johnson.
It was a throwback. It was a throwback to 10 years ago. Yeah, it really was.
He looked, his eyes looked out. He sold that dummy. The defense moved with him, opened up the gap on the inside. He shot through, gave it to the speedster in Luke Metcalf to score under the posts. And you kind of thought, wow.
He's on.
That was Shaun, something pretty special. He was on the ball all game. And he said after the game, it was his final 80 minutes. He just wanted to be in the moment, and mate, 4 try assists. Throwback to his touch days with some of his touches and his footwork and his passes. To have that vision in the last play of the game, to work right side of the field, take that ball off Dylan Walker, a little bit of footwork, and then that long ball to Dallin, for Dallin to get his, was it his hat trick?
It was his hat trick and his 101st try and his 52nd try for the Warriors. He's in 3-4 seasons, he's scored 50 tries for us. That's amazing, isn't it? Considering he hadn't been a particularly prolific try scorer for the previous stage of his career when he was at Penrith and the Bulldogs as well. So amazing, fantastic effort there. One thing I'll say about the final play, when SJ threw that pass, that was the pass he was trying to get right for the whole of the 2022 season, that just for whatever reason wasn't landing, just continually getting intercepted. We know, because we were there at Redcliffe watching him try to do it on our side every time.
Yeah,
Corey Oates almost took an intercept. I think Murray Talangi took an intercept from it one night, and the whole season he just couldn't quite nail that pass. And how good is it that in his very last game of rugby league, he just landed it? And the rest is history. DWZ over in the corner, mate. You couldn't have written a better, outside of winning a grand final. You couldn't have written a better script. It is the best way to end your career. He was, as you said, he was involved in everything. He wound the clock back about 10 years. He was giving us the full SJ showcase, all the skills, as you said, like a bit of the touch footy stuff. The kicking game was on point. A couple of shots at goal from the sideline that he landed. The only thing he was missing was a try, like a bit of a, his vintage sidestepping and like he did on Cameron Smith that night to score that fantastic try. But it was amazing to watch. And I don't know about you, but I came away from that game just feeling so good. Despite the season that we'd had, and despite everything that had gone on, you were just like in that moment, like, hey, it's how good is this? Not many players get that. Not many players get that send off.
Chance summed it up very well in his post-match interview that he did on the field, because they were interviewing everybody. And he said it's like a game of golf where you can have such a shit round, but you birdie the last hole, and it gives you that sense of satisfaction, and you want to come back again. And
it really
that's
is.
what it was. Yeah, that's what it was. It was such a bad season, but to finish on that note, our last play of the season, his last play in his career ever, was the points that steal that game. Yeah, absolutely amazing. It could have been so much different, though, because let's not forget the Sharks had 2 disallowed tries in the opening minutes of that second half too. Yeah, and for legitimate reasons they were disallowed. But if those in previous weeks, those kind of things could have been let go, because let's face it, the Wade Egan obstruction was very minimal. Yeah, well sold, very minimal. It could have been nothing. But yeah, that it could have been so much different. So for those decisions to go our way in a game that meant nothing for us, and for us to win that game, and
a game that meant nothing, but a game that meant everything. If you know what I mean.
Well, it meant everything for the Sharks.
Yeah.
The Sharks were playing for a home semi-final.
Yeah, they had it all to play for. Like they should have been, and rightly so, were well up for it. But it's going to be one of those games. It's going to be creep into everybody's most memorable Warriors games ever, I think.
Oh yeah.
Like you put it up there with some of those semi-final wins and against the Storm and
he's had some. Hasn't he had some great moments at Shark Park though? I go back to 2015. Was it 2015?
15 out of 10 on the incredible meter. And you see Vossi broke that call out again. That was awesome.
Yeah.
That's what I love about Vossi. Vossi's a student of the game. He loves the game, and just while I think of it, that was the difference between the 2 telecasts. So this game was actually on Channel 9 as well, on the Saturday night footy on Channel 9.
Oh, yep.
And I ended up watching the second half on Channel 9 because the kids were out in the lounge room watching something on TV. So I went in the room and we didn't have KO in there. And like the final play, it just didn't have the same emphasis. It was Peter Pasoltis calling it with Gus Gould and Joey Johns. And Joey Johns' first reaction was, I think he's dropped the ball over the line. Yeah. And that kind of thing. And they're kind of talking about it like it was nothing special. But then you listen to Vossi and who was it? Mick Ennis. They were going off. That really made the call.
Yeah.
Vossi breaking out there. This is incredible. 15 out of 10 on the. This is amazing. This is 15 out of 10 on the incredible meter or whatever he said that night. He scored that amazing try to win the game. You were at that game, weren't you?
I was at that game, mate. I was. Yeah, one of the few that I've been at that we win. Which is another show we're going to do in a couple of weeks too, mate. You and I are going to break down the actual games that we've been to, because being Aussie-based fans, we don't get to go to a lot of we don't get to go to home games. So there's some seasons where I know in the past where the Warriors have only played like 4 games in Sydney in a season. So we don't get to go to a lot of games. So we're going to break down the games that we've gone to.
That'll be fun.
And what our win-loss ratio is.
I'll give you a hint. Mine is not outstanding.
Well, mate, if 2024 is anything to go by, mine will be dismal. Absolutely dismal.
Yeah.
I will say too, the post-match stuff, all credit to the Sharks, the post-match stuff that was done at Shark Park. They presented Shaun with the game ball afterwards. There was a bit of a presentation on the field. I will say I thought the haka performed after the game at Shark Park was probably a little bit more intense than the one that I saw via footage at Mount Smart Stadium. I haven't seen a lot of that one from Mount Smart Stadium, but the one at Shark Park was given a lot of airtime. A lot of the Sharks boys joined in on that one too. I don't know how many Kiwi boys are in the Bulldogs side, but I don't think any Bulldogs players joined in the haka at Mount Smart. But yeah, full credit to the Sharks there. They really honoured Shaun as an ex-player of the club as well. But yeah, talking about the game, mate, Tane Tuapiki at fullback. I know you've got massive raps on Tane. The fact that Webby bit the bullet and actually brought Tane in and moved Chance into the centres, do you think this is a preview of what may happen next season?
I know how much you love talking about the team for next season already. So yeah, no. Look, yeah, it was actually a really good move for both parties because both like, I thought Chance had a fantastic game at centre. Looked right at home. He's played test footy at centre, but that was his first NRL game, first NRL start at centre. He was fantastic. Played well all night, defended well, scored a crucial try. But Tane, like we've been saying it probably for most of this season as well. You got Chance and you got Roger, and they're both fantastic players, and they're both great at running the ball back. They're both very safe at fullback. But one thing that they kind of lack is that creative spark and the ability to sort of chime in and produce like a backline kind of play. Like there's quite a few other fullbacks in the NRL that have that string to their bow where they can act as like a third half.
Yeah.
And we've sort of been saying Tane feels like he's that player, but he hasn't really had a long enough opportunity. Like he had quite a few injuries. He got a couple of HIAs at the start of the year, and he never really got to. I don't even know if he even played like a full game for us this year because he had a few disruptions. But mate, he was absolutely outstanding, as he always has been when he's been given an opportunity in first grade. Again, he's not the biggest player going around, but he's dangerous. Every time he touches the ball, we call him the half break king because almost every time he gets the ball, he makes a half break. And he chimed into that back line, 2 try assists there for Dallin as well, which was awesome and something that we definitely been lacking because we're struggling to score points. And mate, I am just really hoping that Webby is. Whether he's got plans for him to play at fullback or he's going to turn him into a 14 or remodel him into a half, I don't know, but he's got to be in there somewhere. He absolutely has to be.
Yeah.
Your thoughts?
Yeah, as you said, mate, I'm not. I will explain what Rob said about me loving the talk of next year's team. I'm kind of over all the. And I mean, each to their own. This is just my personal like or dislike, is the amount of people on Warriors fan pages and forums now that are putting their best 17 for next year. We haven't even finished this season yet. We're like the body's still warm. We haven't put it in the ground. We haven't had the funeral yet, and we're already talking about our 17 for next year. Like let's just take a back step for a minute.
Yeah. Whoa.
Yeah, but in saying that. I'm a massive fan of Tane. Look, I don't know. I think, for me, Roger can only really play one position. Roger, he's looked a little bit lost at the centres, trying to get involved in the game. I think he's wasted on the wing. Roger's best performances this year have been when he's been playing at fullback, deputising for Chance when he's been out injured. Chance, I think, can play centre probably better than Roger can.
Yep.
And I thought even that one game where he played in the halves this year when they played him at 6, I thought he was quite good in that. But I think Tane has to be in the 17. And as you said, whether he's that 14 that comes on as that smaller person that can play similar to what Freddie Lussick or CHT have done this year, Tane would be my first choice if they're not going to turn him into a half. And as you said, he's got that skill set that, if he has a
good kicking game too.
Yeah, if he has a preseason, where they play or like train in the halves, it could be. I mean, let's not forget now that one of the best halfbacks to play in the NRL era was actually a centre that Craig Bellamy turned into a halfback in Cooper Cronk. Cooper Cronk came to the Melbourne Storm as a centre. He was a 14, and Craig Bellamy thought, what the hell, and turned him into a halfback. And he's done it again almost with Tyron Wisser this year.
And Jerome Hughes.
He had Grant Anderson play there the other week. Jerome Hughes was a fullback at the Gold Coast. So, it's not out of the realms of possibility. The other thing, too, in regards to Tane is, as you said, he's not a big fullback, but it seems that a lot of NRL clubs are now gravitating back towards the smaller fullback. And the greatest fullback ever in Billy Slater was a smaller fullback. He wasn't a big-bodied fullback.
Matt
But you look
Bowen.
at guys, Matt Bowen. You look at guys now like Keanu Kinney. You've got
Reece Walsh.
Reece Walsh is a small fullback. The guy at Canberra, Ko Weeks, who's been playing fullback there. Xavier Savage when he gets thrown back there. They're not big fullbacks, but they're dynamic players. So yeah, maybe that's something that the club and Webby are looking into. I don't know. But yeah,
we got to be there somewhere. We're going to lose him otherwise.
Yeah, we are. The other one too, I thought in his final 2 games for the club, I thought Jazz Tavanga really played good footy against the Bulldogs and again against the Sharks. He got a lot of minutes. Webby gave him the opportunity to play some footy. And the other one was Adam Fanua-Blake. I thought was kind of gave the Sharks a preview of what they're going to get next year.
Taste of things to come for sure.
Yeah.
He's been like, take out a game here and there and the whole magic round debacle, whatever that was. He has been outstanding this year. He certainly has not phoned it in at all. He's been fully committed and been the best on field. Yeah, more often than not.
Absolutely. I think based on the points that we've given this season, this week we both gave Shaun 3, Tane 2. I gave Dallin 1 point. You gave Adam 1 point.
Yep.
But that pretty much wraps up our Dean Bell, Ruin Hammer Dean Bell medalist for 2024 is Adam Fanua-Blake, just slightly over Mitch Barnett, who seemed to get less minutes in these last couple of rounds, didn't he?
Yeah, he's had a big year. He's been like he's only just a tiny bit behind AFB. He has been one of the he's had a breakout year, I think is what I'm trying to say. Like a career best year. Made the Origin side, didn't look out of place whatsoever in Origin, looked right at home there. And I think his leadership qualities really came to the fore this year. And he's really sort of stood up as a real leader at this club. So much so that when he wasn't playing, we really missed his leadership and guidance when he wasn't there. So that's been like one of the real success stories of Warriors 2024 season.
And taken over the mantle of captain in the absence of Tohu Harris. Going to be an interesting conversation for next season. We've got the current New Zealand Test captain coming to the club in James Fisher-Harris. We've got a guy like Mitch Barnett who's led us admirably, and we've also got Tohu Harris, who's probably a reluctant captain. Tohu reminds me of Simon Mannering.
Yeah, so much.
And
not a big talker on the field. Yeah. He's like a follow me, boys, leads by action kind of captain. Yeah, much like Mannering. Whereas I wouldn't say that Barnett is in the mould of Steve Price exactly, but he doesn't have the gift of the gab like Pricey did.
No, I don't think anyone does, do they?
No. Across, not just on the field as well, as we know very well. That's been that is interesting. That is very interesting because you've got these guys that lead in different ways, different there's different styles of leadership, and really interesting to see who Webby goes with.
It will be a lot of questions will get answered in the off season, no doubt. Fisher Harris, go on.
Oh no, sorry, I was just going to say just before we finish talking about the Sharks game, another guy who I thought was absolutely outstanding and will demand selection next year, Ali Leotawa. He is a powerhouse.
Yes.
What about that 50-meter run upfield in the lead up to the Montoya try?
Yep.
Whew. Yeah, we've been needing strike in the centres. So
something special about the young crop of players coming through. Leotawa, Sifakula, since he's come back from injury, has been outstanding. We had Halasima, who made his debut this year, was again outstanding. We had Jacob Laban, who was there for a good part of the season.
He's been a mainstay at the start of the year, wasn't he?
He was. Zion made his debut. We kind of wish we had seen more of Zion. He had a few injuries this season, but we've got
Graham Talfa.
Yep. But some of those younger boys coming through, and let's go way back to early in the season. We had our young Harold Matt's team win the premiership this year in their first attempt in that, travelling back and forth overseas. Had a lot of young kids coming through that. Our Pathways programs is something that really excites me in particular over the next couple of seasons. We've got the SG ball, Harold Matt's SG ball. We've got the Jersey flag. They're doing a development, under 14s development now as well. Shaun Johnson looks to be like he's going to be involved in our Pathways programs now as a halves coach, which will be absolutely outstanding. Kind of interesting, he said that he wished he had had access to something like that throughout his career. And then you got a guy like Stacey Jones that has been at the club. I don't know. Maybe, obviously, the club didn't utilise Stacey in the role that they probably should have utilised him in, which was bringing our halves through. Mentoring our halves. But that's something Shaun's going to be passionate about, which is great. As you said earlier, he's had a love of the club, and the fact that he wants to continue his association with the club in that capacity. I'm sure, Webby and Cappy McFadden will be happy for him to kind of be included in that role. But yeah, mate, we've got some really good young kids coming through. It was a great way to finish off our season, that Sharks game. And as we said, Adam Fanua-Blake is our 2024 Ruin Hammer Dean Bell medalist. He's been a great servant of the club. The 4 years that the club has been outstanding. Yeah, I don't know if Fisher Harris is the same type of player.
Not the same type of player.
No,
he's a good player in his own right, but he's not an Adam Fanua-Blake. There's only one of him going around at the moment. And
incidentally, I thought Tom Ale had a good back end of the season
good
too.
Spell.
Yeah. Mate, should we move on to the rest of the results from this past round? Because it's been a cracker. It's really
been great. Yeah.
It's really shaped that top 8 run now, hasn't it?
It's been fascinating viewing coming into this round, because there were still so many scenarios that could unfold in terms of the makeup of the top 8. So last Thursday night, up there at Queensland Country Bank Stadium in Townsville, so the Storm decided to do their resting 3 weeks out from the finals, and a very unrecognisable Storm team went up there to play the Cowboys, who desperately needed to win to sort of solidify their spot in the top 8.
Yep.
And the Cowboys came away with a 38-30 victory in a very entertaining game. And you know what? It's probably one of those games where it said more about the Storm than it did about the Cowboys.
Yes.
Yeah, the way that 100%. The Storm hung in there. Yeah.
Yeah, and as you said, unrecognisable Storm outfit. And it was only in the last couple of minutes of the game that the Cowboys really got the result. Storm were in it right up to the end, which, as you said, says more about the Storm and their dominance this year than the Cowboys. Yeah, 100%.
Cowboys are a funny sort of team. They've looked really good at times, but then they've just been awful. Like, the consistency is not there, and their defense is a big worry, a really big worry for Toddy. He'll be tearing his hair out if he had any. But
he's worried. He's been worried about James Maloney this week, hasn't he?
Yeah, that's right. James Maloney back on the market all of a sudden. The 6 o'clock Friday game, another entertaining match and a bit of a surprise result. This one, the Sea Eagles 34 over the Bulldogs 22. Both teams trying to push for that top 4 position, and you're thinking the Bulldogs probably just needed to win that to finish in the top 4, or to stay there or thereabouts. But yeah, it was the Seagulls that came out and stuck it to them. Any thoughts on that one?
Probably the loss that the Bulldogs had to have coming into the finals. Kind of just, the old adage is you learn more about yourselves in your losses than you do in your wins. Mm-hmm. Might identify a few things. That they didn't have Stephen Crichton. They're going to be without Bronson Jerry this week, which are 2 big outs. Good win by Manly. Injury to Saab, who won't play the rest of the season. They've also lost Tommy Torojevic for this week too. So, a win, but did it come at a cost for the Seagulls? It was probably more of a do or die game for the Seagulls too, clinging in, trying to get that home semi-final in that bottom part of the eight.
But what it has done, mate, is it's confirmed that Luke Brooks, after about 10 years, is going to play finals, unless there's a spanner in the works.
Yep. Luke Brooks to get injured this week and not play finals footy. Shout out
I'm
to
sure the great Juan would enjoy that, and my mate Brad as well.
Shout out to Shaun Woods, who announced his retirement this week, which is really weird because everyone thought he retired last year. So, yeah.
He hasn't really been disguising the fact that he was going to retire with all his podcasts coming out, and he's always on Triple M. I can't stand listening to him on the Triple M call. He rates himself as a comedian, doesn't he?
Yes.
If you listen to his stuff.
Yes, he does.
No one finds Sharon as funny as Sharon does. But,
no, that's right.
Yeah. No, he's all right. He had some good years for the Tigers, and his career sort of nosedived after he left the Tigers, ironically. So
he was a great front rower for the Blues when he was at his peak.
Yeah, when he had the flowing locks and he was trying to dive onto players and completely missing. Yep.
Yeah.
Great, good legacy there. Congratulations to Aaron. The Friday night game, a little bit of a fizzer. It was the Panthers 34 over the Rabbitohs 12. Rabbitohs really struggling. Give a shout out to Tyrone Munro.
Munro, yes.
Yeah, had a very, very tough week, and to back up and score a couple of tries.
Lost his mum on the Wednesday, lost his uncle on the morning of the game, still decided to play and scored a double, which I think was just very poetic. Very strong-minded young man, massive shout out to him.
And got a huge career ahead of him. Fantastic player, great speed, and we wish him and his family all the very best.
Yeah.
Super Saturday. Now, Super Saturday was indeed a Super Saturday. So we had the Eels at home to the Dragons, and the Dragons pretty much just had to win this to
make the 8.
Basically make the 8. They found themselves down 44 points to 12 with 10 minutes left.
10 minutes left.
And when I checked the final score, I had to do a bit of because 44 to 40. Now, this is significant because this is the highest ever losing score, I think, in NRL history.
Yes.
It might even be in the Australian Rugby League history. No team has scored 40 points and lost. So there you go. The Dragons have managed to do that. So Brad must have really enjoyed that.
Mate,
a few records breaking. And
look, it's funny, isn't it? Because the Eels, you look at the Eels team on paper and it's baffled everyone why they have struggled all year and where they are on the table. In the last couple of weeks, they've managed to win some games and get the results. And they even pushed Penrith the week before.
They did.
It's kind of not surprising to see the Eels now find a little bit of form because they do have a very good team on paper. The Dragons, on the other hand, were playing for a top 8 spot. The past
everything to play for.
They lost to the Sharks, and then this game against the Eels, absolutely diabolical. Now they're relying on the wizardry of mathematics and unlikely
which means
draw.
They're no chance.
Yeah, they're no chance. No chance of making the 8, which I think is funny, but not as funny as the next game.
No, it wasn't. So, yes. So moving on to Suncorp Stadium, and I think it was played
Herbie Farnworth Stadium.
Herbie Farnworth Stadium, yes, indeed. So, while it might have been Reece Walsh's house last year, it certainly wasn't this year.
No.
Because the Dolphins playing in front of a home crowd at Suncorp Stadium, 40 points to 6 over the Broncos, absolutely obliterating their finals chance and completing the massive fall from grace that has been the Broncos 2024 season, much like us. 3 minutes away from a premiership last year, and now they will not qualify for the finals. The Dolphins, on the other hand, Wayne Bennett was way too clever for them, still had a few tricks up his sleeve, the old bouncer at Redcliffe Dolphins Leagues Club there. Yeah, the Dolphins were absolutely fantastic. The Broncos had no answer to their potent back line. The Hammer was running riot. Herbie Farnworth. Jake Avarillo was a masterstroke, being switched to the halves, along with the heartbreaker, our heartbreaker, Shaun O'Sullivan.
Shaun O'Sullivan, yeah. Yeah, mate.
Can't say I didn't enjoy this one.
Oh, I loved it. Absolutely loved it.
I know Richie Sterling did as well.
I've always rated Herbie Farnworth. I keep saying to Danny, he's probably the best centre in the game. I think he goes unheralded for stuff that he does. It was great to see him do that to his old club. Absolutely fantastic. Great to see the Broncos go out. Kevy's still in denial, thinking that they can make the eight.
We will make it. There is no ifs or buts. We will make it. He said before, Nick McKercher does Kevin Walters deserve to keep his job? I mean, mate, I don't know about that, but he's under a lot of pressure. Let's just say that. Here in Brisbane, Southeast Queensland, the Broncos are kind of a big deal, and
they've only made the eight from this once. Has been. They've only made the eight once under Kevy, and the Broncos now become the third team in the last 3 years to go grand final, not make the eight.
The Penrith
South, Penrith. When Penrith beat South, the following year South didn't make the premiership. They played Parramatta in the grand final. Following year, Parramatta don't make the eight. Last year they played Brisbane in the grand final. This year Brisbane don't make the eight. So there's obviously something in that, and those teams that have played them haven't made the eight since. South haven't made the eight in 2 years. Parramatta now 2 years. Broncos a season. So, yeah, I don't know. And the fact that the Broncos don't make the eight now is probably better for us, because if going grand finalists to not making the eight, it kind of glosses over the fact that we were top four, don't make the eight.
We fly under the radar. Yeah, we were just surprised. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I did enjoy that, and it set the tone for the magic that was to unfold, which we already touched on, was our 30-28 famous victory over the Sharks at PointsBet Stadium.
Yeah.
Sunday footy. Interesting. The Knights 36-14 over the Titans, so they have put themselves into a playoff for 8th spot with the Dolphins next Sunday, and what. We'll talk more about that in a minute, but that sets up like a very interesting clash. The Knights, for me, they're one of those funny teams. Like, if you take Ponga out of the equation, it's like, what do they offer? What do they bring? What do they do? But for some reason, they're still there with a chance. They're still there with a shot. We saw what a run they went on last year on the back of Ponga. So they took care of the Titans and have put themselves in a position. They did what the Dragons couldn't do, and won the games that they had to. So they're there in the conversation for the finals.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. There's a couple of guys in that Knights side that I'm kind of really gravitating towards in terms of their play style. I love that Fletcher Sharp that's playing on the wing, who deputised the fullback for Ponga. And I like Dylan Lucas. I think he's a really talented young player. But yeah, you're right, mate. Like, their halves are a bit mixed matched.
Bit all over the place, yeah.
Yeah, they don't really have a real dominant forward pack, although we do have a soft spot for Leo Thompson. I do like him, but yeah, mate, it's going to be a big test for them this week. They're at home, but up against the Dolphins, it's going to be a big test.
It's going to be a good game. It's going to be a really good game to watch. I think there'll be quite a few tries scored in that one.
Will be.
And to round out your round 26, another great game of footy. The Raiders 14 over the Roosters 12. So the Raiders are in the same position now as the Dragons. I think they're a mathematical chance if a draw occurs or something, wasn't it? The Raiders, their forward against is so bad.
Yeah. So if the Knights and the Dolphins play out a draw, then whoever wins the Dragons Raiders game goes into the 8. But I can't see it happening. It's a lot of fingers crossed and wishing that things go your way. And I mean, that was a great win by the Raiders. They took advantage of the fact that the Roosters lost some key players. Once Sam Walker went off in this game,
that's the big talking point, isn't it?
Yeah. Because for me, looking at the top 8, I thought, other than the Panthers, I thought the Roosters were probably the only team that could trouble Melbourne for the premiership. And the fact that they've lost Sam Walker now, I think they're going to really struggle.
I think you put a line through them, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is weird saying that about the team that's going to finish third.
Yeah.
No.
And there's a little bit of controversy with the Elliot Whitehead hip drop on Brandon Smith, and then Robbo, your mate Robbo, having a bit of a whinge. That's not like him, is it?
Robbo's just a whinger. I dislike Robbo more than I dislike Ricky Stewart. I find Ricky Stewart funny, but Robbo's just an entitled whinger that, like, he's complaining about Elliot Whitehead, and he has a go at Elliot Whitehead, and he says it's in his game, and they've gone back through, and Elliot Whitehead's never been suspended for a hip drop tackle in his whole career. Yet Dingo carries on like he's the worst player in the league. Excuse me, mate. Have a look behind you at Jared Warrior-Hargroves, you fucking idiot. You know what I mean? Like,
glass houses, as Woogie would say, glass houses, mate.
Yeah, absolutely ridiculous. Yeah, I'm not a fan of Robbo. I just think, I think the longer he's spent at the Roosters, the bigger the whinger he's become.
And he's been handed like fantastic teams every year. Basically walked into a premiership winning side that was assembled for him.
Yeah,
anyway.
Absolutely.
But as Cooper Cronk once said, you gotta not worry about the past. Yeah, you gotta move on.
Cooper Cronk. So that racked up round 26 of the NRL, which, as we said, sees the ladder. The Storm wrapped up the minor premiership on 42 points. Panthers are in second on 38. They only have to win to secure themselves a home semi-final this week, pretty much. The Roosters in third and the Sharks in fourth, both of them on 36. Wins and losses there. They'll keep those spots, I think. Looking at the for and against, they're pretty far ahead of the Bulldogs. If the Bulldogs win, the Bulldogs will still remain in fifth. Cowboys in sixth, the Eagles seventh, and then, four teams on 28 points vying for eighth spot. For us, though, it's good because we're going to finish ahead of the Titans because we get the 2 points from the bye this week. We'll move to 25 points, and even if the Titans win, it's a small victory, 13th instead of 14th.
Yeah. Apparently 13th is our most commonly placed finish in our history.
Is it really?
Yeah, I think it was, shout out to Will from TWL. I think he was saying that during the week. And I'm like, we always, those really sort of dark years between 2011 and 2018 and something, 13th. So there you go.
Still no spoon. I'll just quickly go through last week's round of the NRLW. The first game was the Sharks 22 over the Titans 6. The Sharks still undefeated in the NRLW competition this season. The Dragons hit a bit of form, 42 over the Eels 14. The Knights 34 beat the hapless West Tigers 6. They can't take a break, the Tigers. I think the only way the Tigers NRLW side will win a game is if they play the Tigers men's side. Or maybe the Broncos from last week. The Broncos NRLW side 38 over the Cowboys 12, and the Roosters 34 points over the Raiders 20. And the ladder in the NRLW at the moment, heading into round 7, sees the Sharks way out in front, undefeated on 12 points. The Broncos, Knights, and Roosters all on 8 points make up the top 4, only a top 4 in the NRLW. Then you've got the Titans, the Eels, and the Cowboys all on 6 points. The Dragons on 4, the Raiders on 2, and the Tigers on 0 points.
Well, speaking of the Tigers, they have a very big game this weekend in the NRL. Should we get to our preview of round 27?
Yeah, nothing to talk about Warriors related this week. No game for us. We get to drink Mai Tais on the beaches of Bali this weekend.
We get a head start to Kuta.
Let's get into it. First game, which kicks off in about 50 minutes.
It does. Well, you would have said a big game, but it actually equates to diddly squat now. but it is the Broncos at home to the Storm at Suncorp Stadium on a Thursday night, primetime footy. I walked past there because my office is right near Suncorp Stadium, and they had the great big banner out the front saying, "This is our house," with, the old, it was a Tony Staggs doing that. And I was like, is it though? I felt like Thor in Ragnarok. Is it though? Is it really? Yeah. Herbie Farnworth Stadium. But yeah, look, the Storm, I believe, are playing their full strength side. Xavier Coates is back as well, and I can't see anything but a huge Storm victory. 13 plus, definitely.
No Ryan Pappenhausen, probably the only out for the Storm. They got CFA Alongo playing fullback though, but yeah, the Broncos obviously no Reece Walsh, no Ezra Mam.
Payne Haas is out again as well, isn't he?
Yeah, they kind of brought him back last week, and the fact they can't make the finals now, he's been rested. He's got some injuries.
Can they rally for Kevy? Can they do it for Kevy?
No, I don't think they can. I think the Storm will win comfortably, mate. 13 plus. Yeah,
they have a very strong record against the Broncos at Suncorp. I think their only loss in the last 10 years was that finals game last year. So yeah, expect that to continue. All right, we said the West Tigers. We're not going to leave you hanging. This is clearly the game of round 27, dubbed the Spoon Bowl out at Campbelltown Stadium. I believe it's a sellout, which is fantastic out there at Campbelltown. West Tigers versus the Eels in a playoff for the wooden spoon. Mate, you and I both have really good mates to the Tigers fans. You can't stay mad at the Tigers. Like, we can't have them winning 3 spoons in a row, can we? Come on, surely it's got to be the Tigers that pass the baton onto the Eels. What do you think? The Trent Barrett coached Eels, no less.
Mate, you said it's a sellout. Is that like a Bulldog sellout? Bulldog sellout at a core stadium? Is that or is it an actual sellout?
I believe it's a sellout, mate. Yeah,
interesting. I'm not surprised. Here's an interesting thing for you. Do you know that I've watched the Warriors play the Tigers at Campbelltown on 4 occasions? And I've never seen the Warriors win there.
That doesn't surprise me. We have a diabolical record there.
Mate, the only game that I could have seen them win was that 2022, was it? Or 2020?
Oh, that horrible win that we had. It was the worst win that you could ever get.
And I decided not to go. That day.
Well, we even played the final 10 with 12 men, and they were attacking our line and couldn't score. In 2022, where we conceded 70 against the Storm. So that shows how they were going then. It shows how they were going that year.
Yeah, mate, I'd love to see a Tigers victory. I think it's going to be an Eels victory, though. I think the Eels will get this one. Tigers to hold the spoon aloft for the 3rd consecutive year.
The poor buggers.
Sorry, Tigers fans.
Yeah. All right. The second game on the Friday night, which Channel 9 love and will still try to promote as one of the games this season, is the Rabbitohs at home to the Roosters. When honestly, Rabbitohs trying to claim that Latrell is fit for this game, which is ridiculous. He hasn't been fit for years. So yeah, that's a bit of a long bow to draw there. Mate, despite all the injuries to the Roosters, I think they'll still win this one.
In a couple of weeks, we're going to do we're going to revisit our predictions for 2024, and people will see that I actually predicted that this was going to be this year's grand final. Mate, yeah, I don't know. I don't know because of the Roosters' injuries. Look, I think they'll sneak a win here because I know that they won't want to go into semi-finals losing to the Bunnies, book of feuds and all that kind of garbage that they carry on with. I think the Roosters, but I'm not predicting it won't be a whitewash. I think it'll only be like 8 points in it or something like 6 to 8 points.
Yeah, I agree. I think it'll be like a 1-12 kind of victory.
Yeah.
Did you see Latrell put on his Instagram story or something? I'm fit. I want answers, NRL. Like
What
seriously, that guy just doesn't know when to quit.
No.
Yeah. Saturday 3:00, we have the Dragons at home to the Raiders. This is an interesting kind of game because in like they're both a 5% chance of playing finals.
Yep.
But yeah, in essence, this game probably is going to mean nothing, and it's a bit of a hard one to pick. But I think the Raiders have played the better footy over the last 3 or 4 weeks, and I expect the Raiders will get a grinding sort of type victory as they have done the last few weeks. What do you think?
Yeah, well, like you said, it's a hard one because Flano's a different type of coach, and he won't be real happy. He's that grinding kind of coach. He won't be real happy with how the Dragons have performed this back end of the season. Although Ricky will want the Raiders to really lift. Jordan Rapiner out for this one. Elliot Whitehead out for this one. Yeah, I'm going to tip the Raiders as well. I think the Raiders win in a close one and then sit there for the rest of the weekend, death riding the Dolphins and the Knights, hoping
you can
they
see
get that
Ricky sitting there going,
yeah,
just like death staring at everyone. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to pick the Raiders by 2.
Raiders by 2. Okay.
Yeah.
5:30 Saturday game is top 8 clash. The Bulldogs at home to the Cowboys. I think the Bulldogs will be too strong for the Cowboys. I worry about the Cowboys' defense, and that they might struggle against the Bulldogs' superior defense as well. Although Cowboys are a very, very potent attacking side, but I think the Bulldogs will win. I don't think it'll be a huge win, but I think it'll be 1-12.
Is Crichton back this week? Did he only get 1 game suspension?
Yeah, 1 game, wasn't it?
I haven't.
I can bring up
he's
the
back
list for you right now.
Yeah,
mate.
no, he's back. Yep,
back?
No, he is back.
Yep.
Crichton back. I think the Bulldogs win this game. The interesting thing for the loser of this game, because both teams are sitting 5th and 6th at the moment, which means they're both in the home semi-finals. But the loser of this game will play Manly in the first week of the finals. The only difference is if Manly win this weekend, Manly get the home semi. So there's a little bit at stake here in this one. Bulldogs and Cowboys really playing for a home semi-final and trying to avoid Manly, I guess. Manly, I think, are a real danger in the scheme of things for the top 8. But I think the Bulldogs will win. And I think maybe I'll say 8 points, 8-point victory off a Matt Burton boot.
Yeah. Okay, moving on to the 7:30 game on Saturday night. That is the Panthers at home to the Titans.
Panthers.
Cannot see anything more than a huge Panthers win there. Titans are done for the year, and Panthers will want to get back in the winning form. Sunday, a couple of really good games to round out your round 27. First up at 4 Pines Park, we have the Sea Eagles at home to the Sharks. Sharks, blowing a bit of a golden opportunity to solidify their top 4 spot last week against us. The Sea Eagles, will be wanting to get that home final at 4 Pines Park. I'm gonna go with I think this will be a really close game, but I'm gonna go the Sea Eagles by 7 at home, and will get themselves a home final.
Yeah, I agree.
Final.
Sea Eagles will get the win, which will force the Sharks into 4th spot. They'll have to play Melbourne in week 1 of the finals. Yippee-ki-yay. Sea Eagles to get the win. They'll get a home semi-final. Luke Brooks to injure himself in the 78th minute and not play finals footy.
He ruled out. Oh, no. That's all right. He'll have to stay home and use that barbecue that he got
absolutely
last year.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
And the game that I think is not to be missed this round, to finish it off, is the Knights at home to the Dolphins, with the winner booking their spot in the top 8. Winner will finish in 8th spot. This is a tough one to pick. This is a really tough one to pick. I am going to stick with the Dolphins. I think they've just got a lot of points in them. I think they've got a lot of potency in that back line. I think Wayne Bennett loves these kind of occasions, and I think they're going to go down there with an ambush and they are going to win a shootout. It's going to be it's going to be something like 38-32 or something like that. I'm anticipating. I think the Dolphins can get the job done and finish in 8th spot. What do you think?
I agree 100%. I think the Dolphins will go there. I don't think it'll be as close as what you're saying. I think the Dolphins will blow them off the park. I really do.
Really? Okay. Yeah, they got a lot of points in them.
They've got a lot of points in them with the hammer. They've got Asako on one wing. They've got, Avarillo and Herbie. They've got pure and utter speed right across their back line.
And Finn Diesel's back as well.
Yep.
Kafusi.
Yes.
Finn Diesel. He escaped suspension. Old Ronaldo, but at the back of his head.
Yeah.
He escaped suspension. So, yeah, I think they'll be right up for this. The Finns. Get your Finns up.
I do too. I think the Jeremy Marshall King being back too, I think that he's got, 40 minutes under his belt now. I think he's going to be a major difference for him.
Big inclusion last week, wasn't he?
Yep. Yeah. Okay. So that's our predictions for round 27, the final round of the NRL. Just quickly, the NRLW, 2 games on Saturday. Cowboys up against the Tigers at Queensland Country Bank Stadium. Mate, it's going to be a Cowboys victory. I can't see the Tigers. The Tigers are struggling to score any points.
I'm trying to drum up something for the Tigers, but unfortunately, sorry, girls.
Yeah, I think it's double wooden spoon for the Tigers this year. Second game will be the Dragons versus the Raiders at Netstrata Jubilee Stadium. That looks like it's a true curtain raiser to the NRL game, Dragons Raiders. So that'll be good. Mate, I'll pick the Dragons in this one. I think Tegan Berry is just out and out superstar at fullback. Dragons to win that one.
Yeah, I think I'll stick with the Dragons as well. I think they're looking really good this year. Solid team for sure.
Sharkies versus the Roosters on Sunday at PointsBet Stadium. Sharks undefeated. Roosters, the glamour club, but they're a little bit hot and cold. I'm going to pick an upset here. I think the Roosters will get them.
No, I'm going to stick with the Sharks. The form will they'll be true to form. They've been good this year.
A game that I'm going to go and watch, the Eels versus the Titans at Eric Tweedle Stadium in Sydney, which is at Wentworthville. I'm going to go and watch this and support the Titans girls. I'm going to pick a Titans victory here. Close, but I think the Titans will get the Eels.
Yeah, Titans. I agree. Yeah.
And the big game of the round is at McDonald Jones Stadium, which is after the NRL game, believe it or not.
Kickoff they've been doing that lately, haven't they?
Yep. The Knights versus the Broncos, second versus third. I reckon this is going to be a grand final preview. I'm going to pick the Broncos in this one.
Ooh. No, I'll stick with the Knights. Home game. There'll be a big crowd there for this game as well. So hopefully they stick around, and I think the Knights will win.
Yeah, hopefully, mate. Well, that's it. The rounds are previewed. That's the show for this week. Don't forget, we'll be back next week, 6:00 at Thursday. We're going to break down the Warriors season. We're going to talk about where we think things went wrong, what things we got right. We'll have a look at the games. Interestingly enough, I said to Rob last week, which is it was a season of what ifs and could be's, because we had 7 games where we lost by 6 points or less this year. 1 or 2 of those games turned into a victory, especially the Golden Point game against the Bulldogs that we should have won that we lost.
Yep.
Again, there was some refereeing decisions on high tackles.
Should have had that penalty. Yeah, the late hit on Tamari Martin. Sure.
Any just little things like that could have been a little bit different. We could have been talking about top 8, but we're not. But we'll be breaking down our season next week. Before we do wrap it up for the night, I just want to acknowledge and thank our wonderful supporters, especially our Patreon supporters, for their continued support, and give a special shout out to our Gold tier Patreons, Alf to Olave, Malcolm Earnshaw, Chris Wellington, Nigel Phillips, Shaun Whiskey, Ken Wills, and Stevie Williams. We thank you all so very, very much for your generosity.
Thanks for being in the chat, Stevie. Sorry, I saw before you were saying you'd missed both of us this year at the games, but we'll definitely have to catch up with you next year, Stevie. You've been a long time follower of the show, and we really appreciate your support. Yeah.
Absolutely. If you want to show your appreciation and support, you can head to our Patreon page. The link is on the screen at the moment. To subscribe to our bronze tier general support level, or our silver or gold tiers, which includes supporter merchandise and other benefits. I'm rocking the Shaun Johnson Warrior 168 shirt tonight.
Yeah, there's another Shaun Johnson shirt coming soon. I'm going to do a bit of an overall tribute to the great man, summarising his playing career from start to end at the Warriors and that sort of thing. So stay tuned for that one, especially you guys on Patreon. We're going to be doing our next round of shirts for you guys, so you guys will get first access to it. I'll be putting it on for the Patreon folk first.
Absolutely. Actually, you know what? Let's reward our gold patrons. Let's just send them a new Shaun Johnson shirt, mate. How about that?
Yeah, we can do that.
Yep. That's it for tonight's show. Thank you all for watching, and we'll be back next week, next Thursday. I'd say go the Wars, but we've already got the 2 points this week. So everyone be safe. Everyone be safe. Enjoy your weekend. See you guys.
Thanks, guys. Take care, everyone.